Therapy Talks with Taylor is a series dedicated to educating, inspiring, and uplifting others on different topics related to mental health. This series is designed to be transparent, authentic, and provide a safe space to discuss different topics. And I am your host, Taylor Preche, multi passionate entrepreneur. I am a registered mental health counselor intern in the state of Florida, proud owner of a Change Within, providing therapy services to individuals, couples, and families. I provide mental health workshops to local organizations and programs to educate others about mental health topics. Host of this here series, Therapy Talks with Taylor, on YouTube and different podcast sites. And additionally, I create mental health resources and apparel to create awareness and develop coping skills outside of the session. So come along and join in on today's topic.
Hello, hello. Oh my goodness. What a crazy whirlwind December has been. Let's take a moment to say welcome back to our users. I have had such a busy December. So sit down, let me recap this for you and buckle in for this ride. All right, y'all. So you're settled in, you're ready to listen to what your girl Taylor has been up this month of December. I have my phone here. I'm going to just recap how crazy these last 4 weeks has been. So, I left off with wishing everyone happy holidays, gave everyone tips on how to handle families because, this time of year can be particularly difficult because whether you have family and you don't know how to interact with them in a more healthier way, or you may not have family because of either through grief and loss or through family conflict, and you find yourself at a loss. And it can be overwhelming to deal with this time of year when you see in the stores, on the radio, even Instagram ads about holiday cheer and family times and relationships, and it can be sad. And so, my last video, I kind of gave, last podcast episode, I gave like a little tip on how to handle that. And so we get to the month of December, right? I got 1 week of pause, relax, a few clients. And then December 10th, I hosted a workshop, 3-hour workshop with one of my friends, Shanice Dean, who is a business coach. And we had invited women entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs to the workshop to teach them SMART goals, teach them how to manage their time wisely, how to set up, a SWOT analysis for their business, teach them, how to integrate a schedule for their items that they need to accomplish. And so that was a really phenomenal experience. I was like, yes, it's awesome. And then the next day, going up to Atlanta for the Hope Global Forum conference. And let me tell you what, that was definitely an experience because, it's in the Hyatt Regency. Shout out to Hyatt Regency because that was a phenomenal hotel. I really liked the experience. But at the Global Forum conference, it was really strategized on building brands, closing the gap between small businesses and large corporations. And you got to network with so many people. One of the major takeaways I had from this 2-day conference was making sure you're clear in terms of your business, your brand, the services provide, your voice, your mission, your purpose, which is awesome because for the last 2 months, probably three, I've been working to reinvent, or not necessarily reinvent, but get more clarity in how I want to grow as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, in terms of counseling and other endeavors. And so this was really good to get that clarity of focus and get that, situated in terms of where I want to go in the next step. And so I come back and started the planning process. And then I attended my brother's graduation the end of that week, and it was so good to see him. He worked. Me and my brother were separated 7 years apart, but we are like twins. I call that's my twin for real because we think the same, we kind of move the same in a lot of our aspects. And so to see him walk across that stage, because it had been so much sacrifice, so much work to get him through that and just as his support system. And it was just a monumental experience. And I was just so proud of him and just truly celebrating him as a young man in terms of his engineer because he graduated engineering bachelor's, which let me tell you what, engineering is no joke. I did engineering for 1 year before I went off into a separate thing, and that's a different podcast episode. Won't bore you with that, but engineering is a difficult major, and not a lot of people understand that it takes sacrifice. There's going to be times where you think you got it and you don't, and your professor hits you with that D or F at the end of the semester. You're like, oh my gosh, what happened? But it's a struggle. And so I definitely tell him all the time of how proud I am of him for persevering through the struggle. And I want to jump on a little side tangent on perseverance, that life has been lifing. Let me pause right there. Life has been lifing a lot in this last part of 2022. And the challenge is to continue through these struggles and the curveballs that life gives us. And it can be hard. It could be overwhelming. It could be like, okay, why do I continue? Like, WTF, I just can't. And it takes that determination, the perseverance, and the motivation to continue on, because the goal that you have set, yes, you see it, but the path is going to be difficult to reach it if you want it to last long. Now, of course, there are people who circumvent the hard path to get to their instant success, but I also find that circumventing the struggle or the process sometimes doesn't lead to long lasting success. And not in terms of just financial, but just in terms of internal. But so I attended his graduation, and that was so amazing to see him reach that. Then I had the pleasure of joining a therapist. Her name is Melissa Gonzalez. She has a private practice out in Colorado, and we had the pleasure of having an on discussion to just share my experience of being a Black Latina, because a lot of people just see, oh, you're just Black. I say, no, I do have a Dominican heritage that, I claim and I have. And so it was really good to have that discussion with her in terms of my racial identity, my cultural identity, what brought me to developing that, my life experiences, and it was so good to just have an open conversation because a lot of times we don't. We're in this country, and I can't say about the world because I haven't traveled too much around the world, but in this country specifically, in the United States, it is difficult for us to talk about race because there's feelings of guilt, feelings of trauma, feelings of annoyance, or people want to not talk about it because we shouldn't talk about it because we should move on. It's the 21st century, yada, yada, yada. But I find that if you don't talk about race and cultural differences and identities and ethnicities, that's where we have more problems. We have more problems, specifically United States, with race and culture because we refuse as a whole to talk about it. So connecting with Melissa was amazing to have this conversation about race, racial identity, and ethnicity. And then, had an amazing time planning with my nonprofit group that I work with extensively in Orlando is called the Greatest Investment Girls Empowerment Program. With the founder, Nadine Mentor, it has been phenomenal to be working with them hand in hand, volunteering, providing mental health services. Um, since I think, oh wow, 2016, yeah, 2016, I joined TGI full as a volunteer because I needed something to do after teaching during the summer. And I just fell in love with the program, fell in love with Miss Nadine and then Miss Michelle Hamilton, those two phenomenal, amazing women who I look up to, how they organize, how they operate, how they pour into the young girls. It's just a special place in my heart. And so I volunteer with them since 2016. And then starting in 2020, 2021, I started transitioning to more mental health services and providing that for the girls and giving them workshops on mental health, on their value systems, their identity, their self worth, how to prepare for school and stress management. And it has been phenomenal. So we were able to plan a little bit of our 2023 year. And it's just, they always have a special place in my heart. And, Ms. Nadine knows this. I love her so much and just so honored to be in her presence. Because if you ever come across a Miss Nadine mentor, especially in the Orlando area, you'll know she has a true spirit and a true heart and a true passion to help others. So I planned that. And then, of course, you hear in my voice this whole podcast, I got sick. And I was like, what? Right before Christmas, lost my voice. No fever, no nothing, nothing that literally just lost my voice and had a cough. And so that was fun handling a toddler because my daughter will be 3 next year. And so trying to wrangle her in when mommy has no voice. But she was super sweet. She helped me. She nursed me back to health, I should say, and celebrated Christmas. And it was nice because, for those who don't know, I'm based in Florida, in Orlando, Florida, and we had a cold Christmas, and it's been a while since we had a cold Christmas. It was like in the 20s, and I know people up north are like, "That's not cold, high negative degrees." Say, hey, don't come for me. I'm a Florida girl, born and raised through and through, Florida girl. So we actually had a nice, crisp winter Christmas where it was really cold and it was really nice and had a great time with family and friends. And so, in this last week of December 2022, just that was just a recap of this crazy month of why I've been MIA. But just to prepare for the new year 2023. And of course, I'll do an episode dedicated to the new year. But I just wanted to say, hey to all my listeners, hey to my viewers, if you watch me on YouTube. It's been crazy. It's been a whirlwind of 2022. It's been a lot, but I don't know. I have a feeling about 2023, and I'll speak on this in my first episode of the new year. But 2023, I don't know, it's just feeling something in the energy that's going on in the universe that it's going to be a great year. There's going to be a lot of changes, but changes for the better. Not necessarily changes in hardship, but changes for the better in terms of more clarity and more focus. So if you resonate with that, shout out, shout me out, reach out. Let's talk, let's connect because I think 2023 is going to be a really phenomenal year for a lot of people. So thank you for listening. Thank you for checking in with me and staying with me. And so I'm excited about what the new year is going to reveal itself. So stay blessed.